Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So, Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So, this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So, just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So, like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a great guest. She is a health coach. Her name is Marissa Mynter. How's everything going?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing, and I'm just really grateful.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate it. So I usually talk to all the diabetics that I do interview. When did you get diagnosed?
So I was diagnosed, oh my goodness, December 2002? No. Oh my gosh, it was 19 years. So whatever that math is.
Yeah.
19 years ago. So I have had it for, this coming December will be 19 years.
Wow. That's crazy. So how did you find out you got diagnosed? Like, how did you find out that you had diabetes?
Yeah, so I used to go on family vacations, and I went on one. I was in Florida. I was really stressed out. And I had all the symptoms, right? Like when I look back on it and I think about all the things that were leading up to it, made complete sense.
Yeah.
But I got really stressed out and I went for an annual physical. And during that physical, the doctor had tested my urine and the blood sugar was skyrocketing high. And they said, you have to go to the hospital. And I remember from that day moving forward, I was in the hospital for about 8 days and my life very much changed. I don't think I slept very much either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the story. That's how I figured it out. And I was really little when that happened. And it was a weird kind of coincidence that was during a physical.
Yeah. So did your parents have it? Did anybody in your family members have diabetes at all, or?
The only person in my family that actually has diabetes was my grandfather, and he had type 2.
Okay.
That was it. There was no one else that had type 1, unless it was hidden from the family. But it was very weird for me to be the only person.
Yeah. I'm the only person in my family that's got diagnosed. So, and like I said, I've said before, I've got diagnosed a month before my 35th birthday. So. Yeah, and it was actually, during a health screening to the children's hospital I was working at the time. So, yeah, it was interesting. So, what were the emotions that were going through? I mean, granted, it was 19 years ago, so it's kind of tough to reminisce. But what were your parents thinking, and what were you thinking during the whole time when you first got diagnosed?
I did not know what was happening. I was so confused. I'm like, why am I in this hospital? Why are people pricking my finger in the middle of the night, waking me up? Why is my mom crying? She was very emotional about it, and I felt I just didn't get it. I didn't understand for a while what was happening or what it was until probably the moment one that I kept getting pricked and then constantly getting blood work done and the doctor telling me this word diabetes. And then when I went home, I think that's when it hit me that I had something that was maybe in my head wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't even in the hospital. At that point, I just kind of went with the flow. It was almost the denial phase, right? I'm good, until I went home. And then I had all of these things I had to do. Mm-hmm. And my schooling changed and the way that I had to eat changed, or my, shots that I was given. So it definitely was when I hit home that it actually came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. So did you have diabetes coaches or anything like that? Because for my experience, I literally just got thrown to the wolves. Like, I literally went to the endocrinologist and said, "Yeah, you got diabetes. Like, here you go. Here's some insulin. Here, you know how to take a shot." And I'm like, "Yeah, like, what's going on?" And so, yeah, it's. Did you have any like other teachers at all, or?
No, I feel you on that one. So no, but I had oh my God, an educator per se, right? Like one that kind of explained to me what I had, and that was it. I didn't have a social worker. I didn't have people checking in on my home. I didn't have somebody asking anything. It was literally, oh, here's your endocrinologist, and you need insulin, and now you and your mom can figure it out for you. And there was nobody, and I wish that there was. I don't know how you felt about it, but at least for me, looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, that would have been nice to have some solid people in my life helping me along the way.
Yeah, for me, pretty much like social media came. Like, I had a social media like Instagram and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden I started like learning about diabetes and like looking at other people. And oh gosh, I forget her name, but like there was one girl. She lives in South Africa. She's going to be a doctor or something like that. And I asked her a couple quick questions and stuff like that, and she was like super helpful. I'm so mad I forgot her name, but like I always ask people questions like on forums and stuff like that. I'm like, how, like, what do you do? Because literally my endocrinologist still, it doesn't really help me out, and pretty much like I'm just learning as I go. Granted, I've only been a diabetic for 5 years, but still, it's like I'm still learning how to like regulate my blood sugar and all that stuff. And like I didn't even like even for the Lancets, I thought the numbers on the Lancets were how many times you need to use it, not the pressure. Like,
oh no.
Yeah, so I'm like ripping it at 8, like at 8, and just pricking my finger constantly. And I had to ask a pharmacist. I'm like, so how do I change the Lancets? Because these are like sticking in my fingers. Like, how do you switch? So we like literally opened a CVS box to figure out, both of us, to figure out how to change the Lancets and like what kind of Lancets do I need. And it's like, it was like, her and I were like, she's like, I can't believe you don't know this. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm a new diabetic, so just bear with me. So.
Oh yeah, no, it was bad. I mean, yep. I probably went through about 6 endocrinologists in my lifetime. I have like 2 of them, of which the one that was in New York when I was living in New York, I had to leave because obviously I came to Arizona. And then the one I had found in Arizona was fantastic. She put me on a Dexcom for the first time ever, because all of my other providers never even talked to me about it, didn't bring up any information. I mean, anything I learned about, I researched on my own.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this looks like a cool device. What's that? And I would ask them. And it was just bad experiences. There was one that actually had diabetes, so if they were having a low episode, they'd take it out on me. And I'm like, wow, this is just not a good time. So it was until I had met the one here who had really paved the way for me and helped, and was just so personal, and like it was just really nice. But yeah, other than that, God, I used to hate endocrinologists. It was like a bad name. Like, oh, I gotta go to the doctor. I dreaded going to the doctor, not just because I probably wasn't the best with my diabetes up until a few years ago, but it was also like I just did not like them.
Yeah.
As people. Yeah, they weren't helpful, right?
Yep. Yeah. So my thing is there was a time where like I didn't go to the endocrinologist for like a whole year, and like I didn't even realize it because I was so busy. Like I was working like 2 jobs, and like I was constantly getting insulin. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. And I finally realized, like, I showed up to the endocrinologist, like, hey, long time no see. And I'm like, dude, I am so sorry. Like, trust me, I want to be here, but it's just like I don't have the time. So that's a problem. And then I finally got on the Dexcom, I think a month ago. So.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah, thank you. And it's been a game. It's been super helpful. But it's like I was on the Libre. So last year I got the Libre for Christmas, and because my wife bought it just for me to try it out, and like it was like a roller coaster, just going up and down, up and down, up and down. Because like I didn't realize there was a 15-minute delay because it was going into like the your muscle tissue. So I had a little issue with that, and then I was like, I hate it, get rid of it. And so I finally was like, all right, I need to get the Dexcom, and finally I got it. And I mean, I'm still getting those ups and downs. I'm trying to like figure it out and stuff, because like there's sometimes middle of the night, like I'll just like shoot up, even though I take a long lasting insulin, or I'll eat like an hour and a half ago, then all of a sudden it just starts shooting back up again, and I'm like, all right, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
and that's normal, and that's kind of what having a Dexcom is amazing, because it gives you that leeway of like, okay, every 5 minutes my sugar is checked. But let's be real, sometimes it's inaccurate.
Yep.
You know, and then you also have that stigma of, okay, everyone else's number looks like this, you know, it's leveled, but then why is mine all over the place? And it's like, no, you know, that you are going to have numbers that go up and down, and there are going to be days that just change it. And unfortunately, having diabetes means that it's going to be frustrating, because even if the sun's out, the weather changes, your mood changes, anything in your body is going to like set off a number.
Yeah.
And so we have these crazy amount of calculations that we have to do in our head all the time. And so you are on the right track, I promise you. It'll definitely level out at some point. And
yeah.
even if it doesn't necessarily level out, you're still doing a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So talking about like stressed out and stuff like that, since you've had diabetes for almost 19 years, have you ever had like a burnout phase at all, or just say like, screw this, I'm totally done?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. Like, I don't know if you feel this, but there are times where I'll like take off my Dexcom, and I'll take off a site and just be like, wow, this is what it feels like to be normal, you know, no gadgets attached to you.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. And the burnout is real. It really does happen. It's frequent or infrequent, but, you know, it depends on your life too. If you have stressors at work, if you have stressors in your home life, and you then have to add diabetes on top of it, the burnout is so much greater. It can take a hold of you. And when it happens, it's frustrating.
Yep.
But one of the things I tell myself is like, you know, I might not have chose this specific thing for me, but I am now having to deal with it. And in order for me to help other people, in order for me to help myself, I have to push through.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing I'm not the only one that's going through it, reaching out to a friend, reaching out to a support person, someone in the community to say, hey, diabetes freaking sucks right now. I just need you to agree with me, you know, and having that person that's going to be there for you just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. So, so you're a health coach, and you help people kind of regulate their blood sugars through like, you know, gut health. So how did all this come about?
Yeah, so I think what happened is about a couple of years ago, you know, I started out as like a Beachbody coach, and I was like, ooh, this is so cool. And then realized, you know, I don't like that. And yeah, we can go into that at a different time. But it brought into that realm of fitness and health for me, and to a point that I never thought of before. Okay. You know, what does that look like for me as a diabetic? How can I regulate my sugars? Because the first time I ever really started heavily working out, I'm like, what the heck? Like, my numbers are going up and down. I do not understand what's happening. I'm working out, so shouldn't my numbers just automatically be okay? Yeah. You know, that was the thought in my head. And so when I started doing it, it opened that door for, okay, this is way more complicated than I thought. And if I feel like this, and I can't even imagine how many other people feel like that. And so I wanted to find a way to help myself, as well as I was in a bad place. I wasn't doing the things for my diabetes. I was drinking more. I was eating bad things. I wasn't in a good place in my life, and I wanted to fix it. And in order to do that, I had to take a good hard look in the mirror, and then also take a look at what could I do? And so that's when I turned to nutrition and working out. And it just paved that way for me to not only lose a lot of weight that I didn't know I could lose, because diabetes is so stressful, and also being a woman, just a lot of factors, but also getting my numbers regulated from an A1C that was 12 to now 7. And that happened in a matter of like a year and a half. So it's astonishing, and that's kind of where I went with it.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so so the crazy thing for me is when I got diagnosed, my A1C was 11.5, and within, I believe it was like 9 months or close to a year, I dropped it down to 5.8.
That's amazing.
And so, but the problem is, I ate like an a-hole and started back up, and now I'm back at like 7.3, 7.7, and I'm like, oh, okay, I really need to stop that. But, it's kind of like it wasn't a burnout phase, but it was just like, okay, I think I got the hang of it. So I'll just I'll eat ice cream or whatever, and then I won't check my blood sugar for a while, and then I look at it, I'm like, oh crap. So because I would just prick my finger the whole time, and I'd probably do it maybe 4 or 5 times a day, if that. So
yeah, and what you're saying, right? Like it might not have been a burnout phase, but it was just like I'm doing well, right?
Yeah.
You hit that complacency.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't got to worry about it. And then it falls a little bit, which again, it's okay whether or not your A1C goes up a little bit or doesn't. I mean, that's life, right? But I'm glad that you created that self-awareness of, okay, yeah, probably should check myself right now and get back to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And it was funny because I would talk to the endocrinologists, they're nursing assistants, and I was like, they're like, oh, your A1C is 7.1, and I'm like, well, that's good. It was 7.3 last time, and they're like, that's not a good A1C, and I'm like this.
Oh my god.
I'm like, pardon my French. I'm like, screw you. I'll F you.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm going down. It's in a downtrend, so just leave me alone.
Oh, I feel that. I remember. I mean, I was going to the endocrinologist and them telling me my A1C. I think that's probably why I didn't go so often, because they would just be like, oh God, you could do better.
Yeah.
It was every time. It would almost be like you're not doing your best, you suck kind of thing, instead of that positive reinforcement, affirmation, anything like that. Oh, I totally feel you.
Yeah. So, what kind of certifications do you have, or what kind of certifications someone can get to be a health coach?
Yeah, so there is a nutrition course online, and it's kind of like an intuition nutritional coaching certification. So that's something that I'm actually going through right now that I'm finishing with. So that's really awesome. And then as far as personal training, I'm also finishing my personal training certification. So that should be done relatively soon.
Very
so
cool.
The nice part is right now, it's kind of cool that you can become a coach and help people and not necessarily have to have a certification, right?
Mm-hmm.
But having that behind your name helps a lot more with it. So in the next month, I should be finished with all of it and then good to go, put it behind my name, know that when I'm talking to people, it's yeah, we're good. You can believe what I'm saying.
Yeah. Very cool. Mm-hmm. So how many clients, do you have any clients at all right now, or?
Yeah. So I manage about, I want to say about 30 to 50 clients at a time.
That's crazy.
And I love it so much. It's really nice because, you get that one-on-one time with me. I get to help provide just a lot of assistance, a lot of accountability, because that's where people slack in life a lot, is not having somebody to push you to be that best version of yourself. That accountability of hey, you told me you wanted to do this, so I'm telling you all right, where are we at?
Yeah.
And it just gives that just sense of security, and also somebody who's going through that. And so it's nice. So I do a lot of one-on-one sessions. I provide a lot of resources, things that I've created, PDF files, such as what workouts are good for your blood sugar or what they can do to your blood sugar. And then a lot of nutritional based coaching, because the root 80% of what happens in your results are from nutrition.
Yep.
That other 20% is moving your body. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean you have to go into some hardcore workouts to feel your best. But when you're in the kitchen, that's where those, quote unquote abs are made.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just going to say that too. Abs are made in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what's the initial, when you have a brand new client, so how do you go about talking to them about nutrition and how to stabilize their blood sugars and all that stuff?
Yeah. So when I'm first having a session, what I do is I meet with them one-on-one, whether obviously Zoom now, if there's anyone in person, it used to be through Arizona in person, but Zoom now. And I will go over their story with them. Where did you start out? What is going on right now in your life? What are some obstacles? What are some things that you really love that you're doing? And what are your goals? And it's just really basing that off of an hour with them, just saying, hey, let's go through your entire, what can I do? What am I doing? And where do I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's focused specifically on diet to start, because, working out isn't again, it's definitely a priority to move your body, but when you have to focus on nutrition, that is the hardest thing for people to do.
Yeah.
That is where many of my clients will struggle with. So nutrition is that forefront. This is what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what do you do, kind of in the beginning, kind of like a restrictive diet, or what's the diet plan that you typically do?
I try and do a 90-10. A lot of it is focused on trying to eliminate processed foods, eliminating red meat for a little bit,
mm-hmm.
things that are just things that can either spike a number really high, like carbs, for example, processed foods. And when I say carbs, I'm talking more processed food carbs, like potato chips, having high fats like ice cream, so non-dairy for a little while. And I do it for about 30 days with them.
Mm-hmm.
So no processed foods, no gluten, no dairy, no red meat, and no caffeine. And that's a hard one.
Yeah.
But we try and do it for 30 days, because once you can do that for 30 days, right, it takes 21 days to break a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can break that habit, I can start you from that bottom level, right? And we can work our way up. And it's also eliminating a lot of inflammation. You're getting rid of things that upset your stomach, upset your digestive system. Your numbers, it becomes more sensitive. So now you're working with a blood sugar that's really focused on your activity at that point, because you're eliminating things that are spiking your number, aside from the weather and your mood. But
yeah.
So getting that base level, and then let's work our way up. What are some things we can add back into our diet that now we can regulate where our blood sugars are going? So it's not necessarily an elimination diet, because that's completely different, but it is kind of like one.
Okay, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So do you have any sayings that you actually, when you were talking about the processed foods, I actually had a friend of mine, she was on my podcast as well. She was talking about, if your grandmother doesn't know what this package is, don't eat it. And I was like, that's amazing. I never even thought of that. And,
Yeah.
and so she's a nutritionist too. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So do you have any sayings that you like to tell your clients that kind of gives them a good reminder and kind of sticks in their head?
Yeah. I mean, the big one is if you can't pronounce it, why are you eating it? If you have no idea what the heck that is, why are you putting it in your body? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's one of them. And then the other one would be, if it's more than, 8 ingredients in it, why do you need it? It's very basic. So Those are the two things that I really tell people that kind of stick that one. It's definitely not as good as the grandma one. That one's amazing, but
I bet you she'll probably say it's okay for you to use it if you want to use it.
Patent it from her, use it, yes.
So, do you have long lasting clients, or what's a typical cycle for having clients for you?
Yeah, so it's typical to have about definitely the 30 days minimum, and then from there it goes from the 30 days to about a month to about 3 months. Sometimes I'll keep clients for longer depending on if they want to do it. But once they feel like they've got a handle on things, or that they understand it, I put them in accountability groups, so that way if they want to go back to resources or things that I've put in there, that they can either do it on Facebook, and there's an app called Band.
Okay.
And it's on there. It's very simple to use, and they can go through and be like, oh yeah, I remember. And then they can go, okay, I remember this is what happens when I do an HIIT workout, or okay, this is what happens when I'm eating dairy. What could happen to my number? And so it's just a lot nicer of a visual for them, but they don't necessarily have to meet with me all the time.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually earlier I said, I'm trying to level out my blood sugars, to be like that. Not that obviously it can't be perfect with a straight line, but at least because my ranges on my Dexcom is from, I think it's 60 to 200. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I would like to lower the higher level down to 180 or 160, but I know for a fact when I'm working out, or if I eat, I usually typically around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I get that big spike that just comes up. So I'm like, I would like to lower it down a little bit, but I don't think I'm able to do it just yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's going to take time, right? I mean, it's like learning your body while you go. It's like, okay, and especially insulin sensitivity times. There are specific times throughout the day that our blood sugar will spike just because that's how our body is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after 10 o'clock at night, you might notice a huge spike in your number if you're not in bed. And it's because normally our bodies are now resting, right? So then we're increasing like all of our low ability to have a higher sensitivity for insulin, but we're sleeping, so our basal rates are different. I mean, it also depends. Are you on an MDI? You're on a pen? Like, there's so many calculations and things to put in place. Like,
yeah.
So 3 o'clock for you is just that time where you're like, yep, okay. Like,
yeah, I mean,
either need an extra shot or whatever.
Yeah, even now, since I've been more working out at home, it's my workouts at times have been from like 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So, and then usually like around like 10:30, 11, then all of a sudden like it just shoots right up, because obviously like the fight or flight hormones just like kind of relax, and now all like all like the, you know, lactic acid buildup and all that stuff gets the big spikes. So that's another thing I need to worry about too. So
yeah, well, yeah, and especially if you're weightlifting, it can take up to 2 to 3 hours for your body to actually process
mm-hmm.
and utilize that insulin. So what's funny is like people think, okay, if I eat before my workout and then I take this insulin, I'll be fine. And it's like, no, actually, if you do that, more than likely your number won't kick in until 2 hours, 3 hours later, especially if you're having high fat foods, even protein. Put that into the mix. And then when you're weightlifting, your number goes up. When you're doing cardio, your number goes down. So there's so many factors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, we could all be mathematicians.
Yeah.
Mathematicians. I almost said musicians, magicians.
Yeah. So, and originally, like earlier on, like when they started opening the gyms back up in Georgia, I was working out in the morning time, and I wouldn't eat from 7 p.m. like all the way to like 8:30 the next morning, but I would work out at like 5:36, and like even that, like my blood sugars would still spike too. So it's like
mm-hmm.
kind of still trying to figure it out. So
yeah, it is. It's a roller coaster, and one thing to just like keep in mind is, even though you're doing all the things and you feel like you just should know it by now, you are just still in the process. And
yeah.
I promise you, even 19 years later, you're still figuring stuff out, because you're changing, right? Your body's ever changing. Your stressors in life are ever changing. What you're doing, so no matter what, there's always going to be those little like bumps in the road. So
yeah.
You got this.
Oh, I know. It's just, I'm like, I always tell myself, like, don't stress about it. I mean, it's going to happen. Just relax and just do your thing, and then just like kind of do what you usually do, and then just go from there. So,
mm-hmm.
So what since this is a fitness podcast pretty much, so mm-hmm. what do you like to do fitness wise for you? Or like, what do you like to train people in different exercises? Like what style?
My go-to are like HIIT workouts.
Mm-hmm.
I think I love them so much just because you're moving your body at a fast pace. You do it, you're toning your body. It's quicker. You are kind of like, in between resting, 30 seconds. So you don't have enough time to think about how tired your body is. I just love that. I'm not a runner. God, I hate running so much. If I have to, I'll run. But it either has to be like towards something or away from something.
Mm-hmm.
And then weightlifting. Those are the HIIT workouts, and weightlifting are probably my big ones that I go to first.
Okay, very cool. So what made you get into that then, other than like the typical, Monday chest day, like, the typical bodybuilding phase?
I did that for years. Oh my God, years. I would go to LA Fitness, and
yep.
I did it every single day, Monday through Saturday, right? And I do the typical chest day, back, tricep, everything.
Yep.
And I didn't see the result I wanted, and I hated it. I was like, why is this happening? Why am I doing, like, I'm doing all the things, I'm counting all my calories, like, I'm doing all this stuff. And I didn't understand. I was like, why is this happening? Until, I hit that point where I started switching up my routine. And I started to incorporate things that I didn't incorporate before. Whether that was cycling or, unfortunately running or doing like high intensity interval training. And then my body started to stop that plateau, and I started to actually see some results. I stopped counting calories, and I actually just paid attention to what I was eating. I paid attention to the time of day I was eating. I paid attention to the meals I was having, because instead of feeding my body what I wanted, I was fueling my body with what it needed. And that was a huge difference. And then I was like, well, I don't got to go back to this Monday through Saturday bull crap. Like, I'm totally good with all these other things.
Yeah, that's pretty much me too. I was doing the typical bro split, like Monday International Chest, like all that stuff. And then I was in the Air Force for like 7 years, and I went to this thing called Airman Leadership School, so you could become a staff sergeant. And so the gym there had like a CrossFit gym, and I was doing like the 300 workout and being like, oh, I could do this. And the guy's like, typically you need to do a on-ramp program, and they're all filled, but I think you'll be okay. And like totally like did not even go to the onboarding, I was like pretty much just learning everything on the fly. And then I've been doing CrossFit pretty much for 7-8 years almost. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's completely different. And I was actually like, plateauing at the doing the typical bro split. And now me being 41 years old, I've never lifted this much weight ever in my life. So, which is crazy.
Yep. It is. That's amazing. And that just goes to show, like, you don't have to do that typical bull crap Monday through Friday, Monday through whatever day thing. You can just try something new, and it just can change your life.
Yeah. And like it was funny. It's funny, like the people at the global gym that I'm at, because they have bumper plates and all that stuff there. So they're like, God, like one guy walks up to me and he says, it looks like you're trying to earn a contract. That's how hard you're working. And so like when he said that, I'm like, all right, I'm going to use that saying and that mentality just on every single workout I do, because like my main focus is trying to earn a contract. So and it's it works. I love it. I mean, I have like my gym buddy that I work out with. I'm like, we got to earn that contract. Let's go. And he just kind of like he steps it up a little bit, which is like awesome. And I love working out with partners and stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's that affirmation, right? It's that little motivation that you're telling yourself. It's kind of like your why in a way,
Yeah.
And that is just what gets you. Even just saying one word, whatever that is, it can just hype you up.
No, I totally agree. So, on to like back to the diabetes part. So do you have a Dexcom, right? And you have an Omnipod, I believe?
No, I'm on MDI, so I'm on a Medtronic pump, and I've been on one for a while. I wasn't initially on one. I was on shots for a couple of years.
Yep.
And then, my pancreas like officially needed way more insulin every time. So they put me on a pump, and I haven't changed. I would like to be on the T-Slim. I think that's something I'm going to try out next. But for now, definitely on the Medtronic one.
Yeah. So with the Dexcom, where do you typically put it? Do you put it like on your stomach, or do you have like other places you put it on?
So, if Dexcom's listening, obviously I put it in the best places you're telling me, but if everyone else, so I have it on my arm right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I put it on my thigh, my inner thigh. I do put it on my stomach occasionally. I love putting it on my arms. I have put it on my calf before.
Okay.
I think that it just varies on whatever part of my body I'm kind of sick of placing it. Just try something new. But yeah, those are my main ones.
Yeah, so when I've used it, well, I'm still using it. I put it on my glute muscle. And just like right on the corner, like right where like the big meaty part is. I just put it right there, because like I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, if I put it on my arm, because I put the Libre there for a while, and like there's a couple times I would like go in the armrest and hit it and like nick it off. And so I'm like, really don't want to do that. So where else can I go? And I'm like, I could try the stomach, but I put a weight belt on, and I can't, like, I'm always worried about that ripping, like from like just using the weight belt. So I'm like, well, there's an Olympic weightlifter. Her name's Kelly Wilde. She puts it on her butt. And so like every other person that I've talked to said a lot of people said, put on your butt. And so I was like, okay, tried it. And I've been doing it ever since I started. So just
Oh, absolutely.
flip flopping one cheek to the other. So
No, that's amazing. I will put my sites there.
yeah,
I haven't put the CGM there. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't really know why. I just haven't. But it's, you're inspiring me, and now I feel like I need to try it.
yeah. It's good.
So,
Well, the only one issue I do have is when I put like sweatpants on, like the waist is a little below, so it kind of pushes down on on the sensor. But other than that, like I put jeans on, shorts, I squat with it, like I don't feel it at all. Even when I sleep too, it's just like I don't feel it whatsoever. And like I'm always worried about like putting it on my abs and rolling around and all that stuff. So I just
yeah.
you gotta try it.
I don't know about you, but you sweat so much in your stomach
Oh,
area,
yeah.
just in general.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like, okay, so now I'm going to have to worry about the sensor just falling off because I'm sweating while I'm working out, or I'm sweating because whatever, it's hot in Arizona. So it's, so it makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good place. Now, I'm going to have to try it now.
And
Yes,
like, yeah,
you've inspired me.
and I put compression shorts on too. It also and I wear like box. Well, I mean, a little TMI, but make your compression shorts. So pretty much like it keeps it staying there, so it doesn't really move that much. So it's like, all right, I'll just stick with it. So.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, very cool. So, you said you had a podcast before, but are you thinking about doing another one?
I might. I don't know yet. I did have one before. It was called Wellness Debunked, and it really just talked about everything. So I not only have diabetes, but I also have IBS, which is like irritable bowel syndrome. So fun to say fast. And PMDD, and then I also deal with like some anxiety. So there's a lot of that stuff that I would talk about on there, along with like type 1 diabetes or just in general, like stuff that was going on. And so I did it for a whole year, and then I'm like, oh God, this is so much work. I mean, as you know, you are a person that has a podcast. So I either will restart it back up, or I may or may not just do a new one. Yeah.
Well, why don't you do one like once every 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I really should.
Yeah.
I should. I've had so many people message me over the course of like the past week or two telling me to do one or like have a YouTube channel. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, YouTube's a little tough because you got to do like all the editing and stuff like that. And like if you don't have an editor, it's going to take a long time, especially if you're brand new at it. Like I've contemplated on it, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to work. So.
No, that's when a virtual assistant will become your best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, if I do a YouTube video, it'd probably be with my 5-year-old son, like playing with toys. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it'd be anything else.
That's amazing. You know what though? There are a few people. I feel like it's Rachel Hollis. I don't know if you know her. And her ex-husband now, David Hollis, they have a YouTube channel strictly based with, it's called Tea with, oh no, it's their daughter, and they literally just have tea together and like talk about life. It's on YouTube.
Huh,
so I mean,
interesting.
you may or may not be able to do that with your son. Like,
well, my son is just like me. He's like an absolute spaz, so he'll just like run all over like. He'll like Transformers for like 1 month, and then like the next month it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then the next month will be something else, and it's like, all right. I'm like, maybe we could open like a toy up and then like play with it and then kind of donate it after, because there's another kid that does it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just gonna take way too. I don't know if it's even worth it.
Yeah, I feel that.
But yeah, like for me podcasting, like that's how I've gotten to meet people like you and like learning about diabetes and stuff, because I'm not getting it from any place else, just mainly social media. So it's great to have you guys on, especially like people that have been diagnosed for like a long period of time compared to me, which I still can, even though I've been in for 5 years, I still think I'm like relatively new to the whole thing. So
and it's funny because like as you say that, I've met so many people who were diagnosed a couple months ago to meeting people who have been diagnosed for even longer than I have. Mm-hmm. And it just, everyone's always at different stages, but yet, everything we have in common is the diabetes. And no matter where you are on your journey, you always want to help each other. You always want to be there. And that community online, the one thing I always regretted, I don't know if I would say I regretted it, but I wished I had done was go to a diabetes camp. because I never did as a kid, and they have them. And so growing up, I'm like, okay, I don't really have a diabetes community. I don't have anyone that has diabetes as friends until I had this online support with social media. You know, Instagram is crazy huge with the community.
Oh, yeah.
And which is amazing. I've been able to meet you that way. And it's just refreshing to know you are not the only person, and there's millions out there. And even in that tiny little Instagram community that we have, it just makes life that much better.
Yeah, yeah. And when I got my Dexcom, the first time I took a picture of it, and like literally I had like 20 DMs saying, "Oh my God, you finally got it! This is awesome! All right, put it here, put it there, put it there. Like this is awesome. This is gonna be game changer, you know." And it's like it's so super cool, and you know, it's just understanding other people, which is in like just talking to other diabetics, because like I said here, like I may have like one or two people that I know that are diabetics, but like I really don't talk to them that much, so it's like it's weird because I talk to more people online compared to like, you know, work like on like any other like, you know, in-person diabetics. So
oh yeah, exactly. And it's hard. It's not, I don't know if you've ever been witness to it, but like if you see a diabetic in the wild, right?
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my God, I get so excited. I'm like, you have a pump. Come talk to me.
Yeah. Oh my God, a diabetic. Hey, it's me, another diabetic.
Yes, exactly. You just get so excited. You're like, yes, you know. It's the best feeling. It really is. But I will say, yeah, I definitely talk to more diabetics online than I get to see in person. Obviously, COVID has made that a little more difficult.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So have you gone to like any like the diabetes functions or anything like that?
Yeah, when I was in Rochester in New York, I used to be on the ADA chair membership in Rochester, so I used to help with the events. I raised money for it. I would speak on it. I have done a lot. I've gone to endocrinology offices and spoke to them about how it feels to have diabetes, what it's like, what we would prefer them to talk to us like versus what they do talk to us, or how they present themselves. And then, yeah, I've gone to a few functions here where it was like meetups before COVID, where I was able to actually see people, help out, promote some donations, research, all of that kind of stuff. Lately, no, and that's just because of COVID, but at least I support a lot of the businesses online with the supplements and, like, for example, Transcend gels or Glucose SOS, those types of things. I'm really, really... I would say heavily involved with that as much, because at least it's online. You can order that kind of stuff and it's going to a donated cause, which is amazing.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so another reason why like I was able to talk to a whole bunch of people like yourself is pretty much my t-shirt company that I have. So like proceeds go to the Children's Diabetes Foundation, and like they've been super helpful too. Like I've never been to a function whatsoever, like because... Well, one, I've never got invited, and two, it's like there's not too many. There's maybe like one or two in Atlanta, and it's like I'm like working or something's going on like that weekend that I can't make it. So yeah. I mean, I'm always willing to go to one, but I just never had the chance to go to one yet. So
yes, you're gonna have to. I mean, whatever. I know there was a gala that was here last year, and I'm not going to lie, the tickets were very expensive.
Yeah.
But I was also working, so I couldn't go. But I've told myself, like, one day I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to take off time if it's on a weekday, and I'm going to go.
Yeah.
You have to make that pact. You need to go to one.
Yes,
at least something.
Yeah, we'll pinky swear right now. So.
Yeah, pinky swear.
So, I kind of want to go real quick back to like the personal training thing. So are you planning to do like more like one-on-one coaching, or are you going to look into do like remote coaching at all for personal training?
It's probably going to have to be remote for a while. I mean, I have clients all over, so I don't just have them in Arizona. Oh my goodness. I have clients in Canada, Australia, UK, New York, like East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. I have them everywhere, so it's really cool. The timing is a little hard sometimes,
Yeah.
with the time difference. But other than that, no, I do like the remote stuff. It's a little bit harder to do some of the workouts, but I have, again, like spreadsheets and videos that I send. So it's really helpful and they can just follow that.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Because I'm actually trying to get into like the online space, but it's like I'm writing an ebook right now. It's like it's done, but I'm trying to like figure out, because I'm still like brand new with like the ebook thing. I'm like looking on YouTube to see like, okay, how do I keep a link, like do this link in an ebook and like link it to like the web. And I'm like, how the hell does this happen? And then like they say, oh, you go on Canva and try it out. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, I have to watch a YouTube video on that too, because I have no idea what I'm doing with that. But it's 25 bodyweight workouts you could do because of obviously COVID. And I think like they're typically like 15 minutes long. I have a couple that are a little bit longer, but it's like just 25 of those, and
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to tell where can you get the ebook?
well, I
Or are
haven't
you
print.
not done with it?
I'm done. I'm almost done with it. I just need to print it. I just need to process it out and like get the links to work and all that stuff. So, but that's just.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I'm praying by the end of this week I'll get it done. So.
Oh, that's gonna be incredible. Yeah, I mean, if you ever want like any assistance with some crazy apps like Canva, definitely ask. I've gone through everything, so I can help you out.
Yeah, my wife is a social media influencer too, so she's kind of like showing me the ropes too. Yeah, so she knows a little bit about it, but like not too much, but which is fine. So we're getting close to the end of our podcast. So I have a couple other questions for you. These are like the typical questions I usually ask towards the end. So do you have any goals that you want to reach by the end of the year, or do you want to start like next year?
I would say by the end of this year would be to get my A1C at least to like a 6.5. And that's just a goal I have for myself. I remember the very first day I ever had an A1C where it was like 7.2, and I cried because I had never had a number like that before.
Yep.
And so now I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can freaking do this. So now I'm at that point where I want to get that lower. And then as far as the rest of this year, no, I would say next year would be I'm finishing my certifications for personal training for the nutritional courses, so I'll be certified in both of those. And then definitely increasing my clients by as much as I can, and then finishing out some more resources that are more virtual. So I am working with the virtual assistant now. I'm telling you, she's like my best friend. And so I'm going to get her help with just finishing as much online possibilities that people can access.
Yep.
And it would end up, it's just going to be really great. And I'm hoping that can happen by February of next year. So that'll be really cool. And then as I would say, those are probably my big goals. Otherwise, I kind of take things day by day. That's my philosophy on things. I like to try that. It stresses me out a little bit less.
Nice. So is your virtual client, virtual assistant, is she like overseas, or like is she like in a different country, or how did you find her?
I found her on Instagram, and she's not overseas. She is in, oh my gosh, I think she's in California. Yeah, okay. I love her. Instagram has literally brought me every person that I could need in my life. And so I met her through that. And I love her. She helps me just by putting things together. It's almost like she gets to be my brain a little bit, you know, putting those things in step and in order, but I get to be the brains behind it. So it's like, all right, here's what I need. I need you to do this. And then she does it, and it's just so helpful because I don't have time. So I'm a therapist in my job Monday through Friday, and so I work a lot individually with other clients doing mental health work.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Very cool. So do you have a favorite book like a self-help book or like a fictional book that you like to read, or would you give out to like as a gift to somebody?
Oh my gosh, personal development books are my jam. I read them as much as I possibly can. There are a couple books. The Slight Edge is one of the most amazing books because it just brings so much to your forefront of your mind of, wow, if I just make these slight changes in my life, that drastically makes a difference. The other book would be the 10X Rule.
Okay.
Amazing book. Really, really good. Motivates the crap out of you, and just puts a business mindset in your head, and as well as like believing in yourself. And then the 5-second rule. That one has helped me in a lot of ways, including getting up in the morning, because now I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and I'm up, versus I want to sleep and let me keep hitting the alarms.
Oh, I've never heard of that book before.
Oh yeah, it's by Mel Robbins. 100%, you need to read it. I will send it to you in the mail if you don't get it. It's such a good book.
All right, awesome. So the last one is like I think is one of the most important questions to ask people. So what would you tell a new diabetic what to expect for the rest of their life?
Oof. Wow, that's a good question. Oh my goodness. I would tell them to expect the unexpected, that it's not going to be easy and it's going to be a roller coaster, because that's our life,
Mm-hmm.
but that you're not alone in any of it. And even though it might be frustrating, you were placed in this position because you were the person that is able to handle it. Yeah.
I love it. That's a great one. Yeah. So where can people reach out to you via social media or like email if they have any questions for you about, how they regulate their blood sugar or like workouts or anything like that?
Yeah, so Instagram is going to be the best bet. Honestly, email is way easier. If you go to my Instagram, which is just Marissa Mynter, and then there's an email button, click on it, send me an email. So much faster than just direct messaging me, because unfortunately I don't get through all of them, and they'll go to the bottom of my pile, as you know.
I know.
So I would say absolutely email is the fastest, but if you just want to direct message me, that's absolutely fine too.
All right, very cool. Well, thank you very much for being on my podcast. It really does mean a lot that you took the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me and talk.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I really, really do. And I love that you are doing this for the community and just helping in any way that you can. It's wonderful.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.